Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another weekend of Gee Whiz Weekends. I'm Emerald Fox.
I'm Lynette Zang.
For those of you who are new to our channel and our show, each week I'm going to be grabbing a social media post regarding the current economy and asking our expert questions that I might have or any confusion so she can clarify and give us her opinion. At the end of our show, we're going to be bringing a viewer's question, someone who commented down below in the below section where the comments are, a question for Lynette. So I'm going to bring that directly to her today. If you have questions in the future, please make sure to leave them down below so that I can choose one of them because you might be our next one. All right?
Or can they also send them to questions@LynetteZang.com?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But let's go ahead and dive right into this week's post. It was actually a story on Instagram from Financial Times.
Okay.
They said the ECB ready to start cutting interest rates, says chief economist. The article goes on to specify that the Swiss, Swedish, Czech, and Hungarian central banks have reduced the cost of borrowing this year in response to falling inflation. But among the world's major economies, the Fed and Bank of England are not expected to cut rates before this summer. And the Bank of Japan is considered more likely to continue raising them. So when asked if he was proud that the ECB was in a position to cut rates earlier than others, Philip Lane said, you'll love this, central bankers aspire to be as boring as possible, and I would hope central bankers aspire to have as little ego as possible.
Okay. Yes, let's hope both of those things, but
Let's
that's
hope
not
it.
really the reality.
That's
But
not what
okay.
we're seeing. Yes.
Right.
So my question for you today is, with the European Central Bank signaling an interest rate cut, which is obviously against, it contrasts what most other major central banks
Right.
are
Advanced
choosing.
economies.
Yes. Do you believe this signal is a genuine move or merely a tactic to reassure the European public, that they're going to take control of this, as well as global investors? Do you think the ECB will actually move forward with this?
To be perfectly honest with you, I don't think that really matters.
Okay.
It's not whether or not they're going to raise or lower the rates. First of all, let's understand what the interest rates do. It either makes it more expensive to borrow or less expensive to borrow, right?
Right.
And so what they're trying to do is stimulating more borrowing at a level where we're at nosebleed levels on debt. So that's just going to be more stimulative to inflation, right? It's going to make inflation more obvious. But the reality is the significant part about this is the lack of coordination and synchronization in the central banks. And I just did a piece on that. And I've been talking about that for a while, because it's not whether the interest rates are higher or lower. Even when they raised them, they were supposedly tightening access to credit, and that's garbage. Okay. Credit has remained loose throughout this whole period of time that they've been raising rates, the last couple of years. All you have to do is go on the Fred for economic conditions, and you will see they're as loose as they've ever been. So all of this is really just noise.
Okay.
It's just a way to distract you, because when they lower rates, that inspires borrowing and spending. When they raise rates, presumably, but it hasn't worked anymore because conditions aren't really tight, then that reduces borrowing and spending. And that's the key tool that central bankers have since 1971, when Nixon gave them control of inflation. This is the key tool that they'd had. It's done. It's over. When everybody dropped their rates to zero during the great financial crisis in 2008 and then held them there for 15 flipping years, and created all of this buildup of debt, the real danger in what you just said is an uncoordinated central bank move. So it's like this is the ground shifting beneath your feet. This signals danger to me, because since 2008, central banks have moved forward decisively in a coordinated way up until 2015. Remember, we've talked about the Swiss surprise?
Right, I was just going to say that. So the Swiss surprise, and they, it was backed by the currency or what have you, and then it locked off. It completely switched.
Well, what happened during that period of time was that the Swiss Central Bank had made a key commitment to the ECB
Right.
to keep their currency pegged to the euro dollar. Because a lot of Europeans that worked with the euro dollar had borrowed mortgages, right?
Right.
Had borrowed in terms of the Swiss franc because there was a period of time when the Swiss franc was cheaper, right? So it
Right.
made those mortgages look cheaper.
Mhm.
And then the Swiss franc appreciated, and so people were losing their homes. That created a lot of problems, right? And so the Swiss government committed to keeping their peg from the Swiss franc to the euro, right? And so everything was hunky dory. And then all the central banks were moving forward in this coordinated way. And the Swiss central bank had said, this is our highest priority. This is our highest priority. Yes, we're going to maintain this. And then bam, in 2015, they shifted that peg. So that was actually when the central banks knew that another central bank could do something different than move forward in that very coordinated way, right? But since then, they've been kind of playing nice up until now. In other words, they've been moving forward to fight this inflation that they created with zero interest rate and negative rates. I mean, boring. Give me a break, right? What was that quote that they said?
Central bankers aspire to be as boring as possible, and I would hope central bankers aspire to have as little ego as possible.
Well, I think they are not boring, and I think their egos are ginormous because they're really playing God with all of us, right? And our well-being. So do I really give a crap, honestly, about what happens, whether the ECB raises rates or lowers rates and keeps them the same? No. The point is that loss of synchronization. And since these global central bankers are really the ones that are guiding this transition from this currency into the next iteration of currencies, the fact that they are no longer working together in a synchronized way spells huge danger. Danger.
And that's that distrust between the central banks, which is then leads to the public's distrust, correct?
Well, I wish the public would lose, and they are losing trust in them. But it's that the system is really fragile, right? The financial system is hugely fragile. Oh, I'm sorry, these flies. It is a farm. But, these central bankers, they're pricing money, which means they're pricing what you and I work for. And they're destroying its value. With higher inflation, it destroys its value faster. With slower inflation, it destroys its value a little bit more slowly. But make no mistake of this. It's about destroying the value. And will this shifting create the next crisis? Because it's the advanced economies that are really driving this boat. And the fact that one's trying to drive one way, another one's trying to drive the other way, creates
dissonance,
a collision. Okay? It creates that collision. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That was a great point. And I love all the other factors that we, have discussed kind of coming together with this post.
Yes.
I mean, it really, with the Swiss surprise and, the central banks and the shifts that they're making, I mean, it's piecing it together for me.
Exactly. And, I love that you said that, because what we've been trained is to go shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. Hey, if this didn't happen 15 seconds ago, it's irrelevant.
Right.
That's not true. But if they can get you to think in very short termism, then you don't think about this at all. It's one of the things that I love about being my age and having lived through what I have lived through. But make no mistake, this loss of coordination in an extraordinarily fragile global interest rate system, monetary system, is easily going to bring this whole system down. the difference is this coordinated or is it not coordinated? I don't think there's any such thing as coincidence. I know, because I know how they make these transitions, that they need a huge crisis to scare the crap out of everybody so that you accept what they want to shove down your throats, which is the CBDC giving them full control.
Right, as if that will be the thing to take care of all of us leading to the next.
Oh my God, look at what a great job they've done so far.
Right.
Right? I mean, the American dream is dead. It's dead. What I think you're probably the last generation or kind of the borderline generation. Those that are coming up, can they afford to buy a house at these price levels, at these interest rates?
No way.
Right? Can they really go out and start a business? I mean, you can go out and start a business because you can really shoestring it. You can do it on nothing if it's just you. But there's no way I could have ever done, Zang Enterprises without either self-funding, which is fortunate that we're able to do that, or having to go and borrow money, which a lot of people have to do in this environment. So understand that this is more reflective of the fragility and the danger in the system, but they don't want you to think that because central banks are boring. Central bankers have a God complex. And they have to be, I'm sorry, but it's true. They have to be sociopathic because they cannot care about how their decisions impact everybody out there.
Yeah. Wow.
They have chosen winners and losers. You and I are just the right size to lose. They're cronies and the corporations that have built up around them. They're the ones that are too big to fail.
Right.
The individual is not too big to fail unless, guess what? If we all come together and make a stand, then we're too big to lose. And we can have a seat at the table. It's really critically important, and it's important that people get this message ASAP.
Yeah, that's our quiet revolution.
That is the quiet revolution. It's happening all over the world, and it's happening here too. That's what Costco, the gold and the silver at Costco and Walmart and Amazon, and that's what that's about, and that's happening all over the world, and that makes me feel good. And you can't wait, right? This is happening right now. Central bank, ECB, lowering the interest rates, all that does is indicate that the dysfunction in the global central bank synchronized movement. It's danger.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for clearing that up for me. As promised.
Yeah, I do have a little opinion about it.
No, we love it. I'm going to go ahead and jump into our viewer's question. And this actually was a comment on our YouTube channel. It was from C. Chivers 2665. And he says, I don't understand how paintings, wines, and the like can preserve wealth when their value is in the eye of the beholder, so to speak. Gold and silver are universal. Paintings, etc., are for only who consider them valuable and can afford them. Please explain.
Well, it's that rarity factor, right? So if we're talking about dynastic wealth, this is wealth that lasts in families at least 300 years, right? And so there are the very wealthy, the 1%ers, they always want what only they can have. And when you're talking about paintings, there's new paintings and then there's tried and true. Just like there's new money and then there's tried and true. So yes, anything that is rare and of very high quality. And not because Franklin Mint puts out a bunch of pewter things and says, oh, this is a collectible, and we're going to stop it at 1 million, right? There's only so many Rembrandts or Van Goghs. There's only so many Fabergés or Galets. And so the quality level and the rarity means that they hold their purchasing power better. But he's also right. This is how Uncle Al was so instrumental in me understanding this. He always told me you buy with your heart first, right? But then you always get the best that you can afford, but you gotta love it, right?
Yes.
So tangibles, fine tangibles, like a Van Gogh or like a Fabergé, okay? They go from undervaluation to fair valuation to overvaluation to fair valuation to undervaluation. Because they are tangible, right, and have a long history, they're never likely to go to zero, right? And gold is indestructible, so it never goes to zero. And it's used in every sector of the global economy. So that's a little different.
Right.
But when you're looking at these rare art pieces, that's how they hold their value, because the quality is so unique. They're handmade. I mean, some of the work on some of these pieces are absolutely phenomenal. And I sit there and I go, how in the world could they have done this? Because back in the day, it was painstaking. They took their time. This necklace that I'm wearing, it's not real gold, right? But it was done in the 1920s. So it's in the Deco style.
Yes.
I bought this. Gosh, I was in Key West with my sister. So that had to be probably in the 90s sometime. I don't even remember. And look, I'm wearing it today, right? And I think at that time I paid $125 for it or something like that. So it was a decent amount back then in the 90s versus today, but it's tried and true, right? Here I am at this age, or in the 90s, buying something that was created in the 20s, and it's not even gold or silver. It's, I don't know actually what it is, but this is glass. Okay. Right. And you can see all the details.
Right.
So it really is about having a good eye. And this is also Deco, right? This is Deco. And so is that. I like Deco. I guess I like Deco. Not everything is Deco, but these are new, right? So when you're looking at art or you're looking at something like that, does it have lasting value? If it is fine,
right,
and rare, then yes, it does have value. That value will go up and it will go down, but it won't go to zero.
Awesome.
I hope
I hope that answered your question.
Right.
Like it certainly did for me. That's it for today's Gee Whiz. I hope you all enjoyed this. If you did, please make sure to give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell just below. And as always, leave a comment, say hello below. If you have any questions, keep an eye out. You might be our next one. So leave it down there. Until next time, you guys, stay safe out there. Bye now.